and welcome to This Car Pod.
I'm Filippo.
I'm Nick.
Nick's filling in for Kenan. Kenan is at Amelia Island, and Nick is our insane friend who buys weird cars. You may remember him from buying weird cars. And let's start with the news. Bring it up. Tariffs. Nick, take us through this one.
Despite being an econ major, I'm not the right person.
You were an econ major, and you make the decisions you make?
Yeah.
Can we talk about your Bentley real quick?
Sure.
Your Bentley is broken down twice this week.
Yeah. I wish there were tariffs on that thing. I wouldn't have done it. It was flatbedded this morning. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Earlier this week, it was leaking coolant.
Yeah.
Today, it was leaking hydraulic fluid.
Well, technically, it was leaking both the first time. It just the coolant leak was so enormous that it hit the other leak from being noticed as well.
Okay, we'll get back to the Bentley in a little bit.
Yes.
Tariffs. Let's talk about tariffs.
Yes.
The situation is changing rapidly and maybe changed by the time that this podcast goes
It
live.
changed from 2 hours ago to now, and it surely will change again by Friday.
We're filming this on Wednesday. On Tuesday, the tariffs rolled out to Canada and Mexico. Absolutely insane. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. Today, it was announced that the automakers were exempted, but
For automakers building cars in Canada and Mexico, not for Chinese built cars.
yeah. No.
To be precise.
Those tariffs ain't changing. The China ones, they're not going anywhere. The automakers are exempted, which the market loved because that was a big part of this whole thing. The auto industry has made massive investments in Canada and Mexico, not just for assembly, but in some cases just for parts, and then the car's still assembled here. But regardless, parts go over the border many times. It's like not even thought of. It's complicated. And the automakers, tariffs or not, are not going to build a factory tomorrow.
There's also examples like Honda announced yesterday that they were going to move next generation Civic production to Indiana instead of Mexico. But it's not that simple because a lot of the componentry is almost certainly made in Canada or Mexico.
And then you got to wonder, well, what is the Trump administration trying to target with that sort of thing? Do they care about the assembly, the final assembly, like factory workers putting a car together? Seem like something they would care about. Or do they care about the production of the components?
Right.
One, I don't know which is more important to them. I guess both. But which one is being tariffed? Like if a car is being assembled in the United States with components compiled from completely elsewhere, does that count? From a VIN perspective, it does.
It's like a difference between the values question.
Which was so hard
But
to
it gets
assess.
so complicated. For what it's worth, there has not been particularly clear guidance yet.
Of course.
The interesting thing, I think, is the other prominent figure in the Trump administration is Elon Musk, who happens to own a auto manufacturing company that primarily produces vehicles in the U.S.
For the U.S. market, yeah.
It's interesting in that Trump and Elon must be talking about this and weighing in on how this is written and who's included or not. But
that's a good point.
You can't help but sort of wonder, is there a little bit of a weird thing going on with that dynamic?
And those cars are like heavily built in the U.S., both the componentry and the actual assembly. Yeah. Although Elon does have factories in China. Now, they're not building cars for the U.S., but I'm sure if the opportunity presented itself, Elon would love to sell Chinese-made Teslas in the States, probably be cheaper.
It just gets so complicated so quickly. And also, like the impact isn't as clear. I think there's a misconception that what you'll see is the vehicles that are built primarily in Canada or Mexico would have higher sticker prices. But manufacturers can't really do that. You can't suddenly make the Equinox cost more than a Tahoe, right?
Who knows? Maybe they would.
So you have to amortize it across your lineup. But if you don't know the actual full cost of that, you don't know when it's going to be implemented. How do you really adjust the prices?
It's also more complicated than you think to raise prices in the middle of a... The whole situation is insane. Definitely a crazy decision that I read today, a poll that 80% of Americans don't agree with these tariffs. From a capitalist economic perspective, I think it's a crazy situation, and I hope it comes to an end relatively soon for the auto industry and for many other industries.
Yeah, I will say one last thing on it. Other industries have... The auto industry has really long supply lines, and the supply chain is long, and a lot of dealers have vehicles on lots, and a lot of manufacturers, like Jaguar, has probably a year's worth of vehicles in the U.S., which is good for them, right? Because none of those vehicles will probably tariffed, even if they were built somewhere where they should be. So it's not immediate. There's other industries like...
Sort of. Some cars are.
Right.
The Tacoma has probably a short...
Exactly.
And it's built in Mexico.
Right. And like some industries, like technology industry, like the laptops are shipped as they're built, pretty much. And so they've already announced, okay, I think Toshiba maybe, or Acer, one of the companies that has already announced, okay, the prices are going to go up 10% on April 1st. Cars, you can't do that. You can't just say that MSRP goes up that day. So it becomes a really interesting...
Maybe. I would be curious. You say you can't do that, but I don't know that automakers have ever, flash faced this before.
Right. No, 100% not.
Could they? They could. They could raise prices immediately on certain vehicles.
Then raise sales, right? The only reason that some manufacturers have any sales is because their pricing is competitive. The moment that becomes uncompetitive.
Well, and they made long-term bets based on agreements that were in place, and negotiated and agreed upon by all these countries, including the agreement that's currently in place. That it was negotiated by the Trump administration. The whole thing's so insane. Let's move on to less political.
I do. As a salesperson, I have to correct one thing.
Please.
Every car salesman in the world is calling every customer they have right now saying prices are going up 10% April 1, plop your butt down here and sign on the dotted line.
All right.
That's a great point.
Speaking of car salesmen, the next story is the best one of the week. Okay. The Aston Martin V8 Cygnet has gone on sale. I have gotten calls, texts, emails, Facebook posts, YouTube, Instagram. Every person has contacted me about the V8 Cygnet. I'm probably the #1 potential buyer.
What is the V8 Cygnet? I mean, I know, but for those that don't.
I don't know if the dealer's aware of that I'm the #1 potential buyer, but I'm the #1 potential buyer. Here's the situation. Aston Martin Cygnet was a tiny city car that they made around 2010, ostensibly to comply with rules about lineup emissions and fuel economy. The other brands like Ferrari never had to make a car like this because they were in some large corporate umbrella, but Aston Martin was not, and it still isn't. And so they had to, in theory, they had to make this car in order to comply. The regular Cygnet, and they sold 10,000 of them primarily in London. Then, at the very end of the run, some rich guy, never disclosed who, came to Aston Martin and said, if you build me a Cygnet with the V8 from the V8 Vantage, I'll buy it. I'll pay the cost. I'll buy it. I'll do it. But you have to agree that you will never build another one. And Aston Martin, desperate for money perpetually since I've been alive, said, yeah. So they did it. And the car is now for sale, used, this has been 10 years now, at a dealership in the UK. Now, I want the car. I'm going to be clear.
Yeah.
However, I swore off buying cars. And I mean that even more than my desire for the Cygnet. Okay, so.
Wow.
But nonetheless, I'm curious. Part of the problem, part of the reason I swore off buying cars is because it is so it's become onerous to buy cars for me. There's just a lot that is required when I do it. The kind of cars I buy, there's just so much work and specialist labor and all this stuff. And this would be the most onerous of all because it's not technically legal to send to the U.S. You'd have to get it certified for the U.S. driving under the show or display rule, which you could because the show or display rule is specific to cars made fewer than 25 years ago, but that are like special and can be shown or displayed. So anyway, it's for sale. We don't know how much. It says price on request, and this is where Nick comes in.
I called them Saturday, got their voicemail. So I still don't know how much they want or even if it's available. I have to imagine they've been just flooded with, because they're not putting the price on the website. The only way to call is to find out is to call. And so there's got to be a lot of people just for fun calling them, and they must be so annoyed. Anytime like a car dealership gets a car like this, they're like, we've had 6,000 calls and not one serious offer on it. And I'm sure that's the case here. It's
like when someone goes missing, the police get 100,000 tips, but only 3 of them are meaningful. I think that's this. And to be honest, meaningful. If the dealer would get in touch with me and we have a conversation, I'd be interested in hearing what it cost. I would be a legitimate interested buyer, unlike 99.99% of people talking on the internet right now about this car. I will say, I was disappointed by one thing about it that I didn't know, because they never offered this car for sale. There's not a lot of pictures of it around. It's more race car than I expected. It has a roll cage. It has race seats, like real race seats with harnesses. Cool. It has like a battery kill switch, a fire extinguisher. I was hoping it was just like a Cygnet.
Yeah.
Like it would be annoying to use.
I can seat swap it for you. The cage might be a good idea, but here's my offer to you. 2 things. 1, I'll do all the legwork for you.
You'll do show or display.
If you pay for it, I'll do paperwork. I will facilitate this transaction and decomplicate it for you.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, since hopefully the seller's listening here, what's your starting offer here? What do we think this is actually worth?
Personally, I would pay a couple $100,000. I think they're going to want a lot more than that, but I could be talked into a lot more than that under the right circumstances. I've always wanted a special one-off car that's like a real one-off. Not like somebody built it in his garage, but like an automaker built it in special circumstances, like the Brunei cars, like the Ford GT90.
Yeah.
And this is like the peak Doug. Like it's the quirkiest, stupidest. And I have no doubt we could get it in here.
All right, so $75,000. That's US dollars, not the trash European currency. Holla.
It's in the UK.
It's in whatever that is. Pounds, euros, francs, who knows?
Deutschmark.
We got tariffs. You better sell it to him quick, otherwise it won't be able to come in. You have until April 1st.
I'm legitimately interested in the car. I would love to have a discussion with the seller just to get a little bit more information about it. The car has almost no miles on it, no surprise. It is unfortunately right-hand drive also, which would make it a little bit complicated.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Since only a Brit would commission this vehicle, nobody else in any other country would have any interest in this trash.
It's so cool.
It is so cool. The wide,
Are there photos of the engine bay in the listing?
I don't know. I only briefly perused the listing. I know the car, you know. I want it. Make it happen.
It'd be a good car for you.
Figure out what it costs.
The second offer that I want to give to you is if this falls through, I'm willing to import a Multipla for you. Do all the work. I really want one. It seems way more affordable than this, like a tenth.
I want to talk Multipla in the next segment because there's something to discuss there. Nick has been floating interest in a Multipla, which is interesting to us.
I'm frothing, all right? I got rid of a car this last week. It is time to fill that void.
And the car has replaced it. It's broken down twice in the last week.
He needs a Multipla.
Okay, let's finish up the news stories. Move on to the next news story here.
God. If the Cygnet is the second most interesting car for sale, this is the first.
This is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life.
So this is the elongation by Mansory of the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
It is largely carbon fiber that they added to the 6,800-pound vehicle for styling purposes. So you can see there that sort of like extra window, the side flares, all that.
It does look like it was added. Like it doesn't look like they removed any of the testable.
Well,
how could you?
Like glue.
It's like
probably.
It looks
double-sided tape.
Double-sided tape. Yeah.
Inside, you can get a bedazzled Mansory logo on the door cards. There's a handful of other things, but purely cosmetic. There's no functional. Oh, and it's 26-inch rims, and I will use rims intentionally to describe those. So that is it. They describe on their website that this brings it up to the Mansory brand promise and vision.
What is the cost of this vehicle? Do we know?
It's not published.
What do you think is more expensive, the V8 Cygnet or the Mansory elongated?
The V8 Cygnet.
You think the V8 Cygnet? What do you think it costs? $1 million?
No, a few hundred. I can't
if it was 300, I would have a real conversation.
There's no chance it's more.
This
than
better be less than 300.
But that's what Mansory does.
Is worth $75,000.
But that's what Mansory does.
No, I bet it's at least $100,000 worth of carbon fiber parts. But
I bet it's like $300,000 over. Either way, it's the ugliest thing we've seen. Unbelievably, this is not the ugliest Mansory vehicle I've seen.
It's one of the nicer ones.
It's quite restrained by Mansory
They didn't do much.
Mostly because the car is already so heinous.
It's kind of insane. I do not hate the light bar treatment at the top.
Yeah, the light bar is cool. They should have done that. Kind of looks like ears or eyes.
Yeah.
Isn't that a regulation thing you can't? It has to be done aftermarket.
Probably, but this would be in the aftermarket.
Yeah, I mean...
The ironic thing is Mansory primarily makes cars for Europe, but the Cybertruck's not sold in Europe, and maybe they sell these things in the States,
Maybe they're trying to expand to the Texas market.
Maybe they're trying to bring Texans on board. I think even Texans would look at this and be like, nope. This is...
Yeah. It's tough.
This is way too showy even for Preston Hollow.
The lease deals are getting down, like the inventory's getting up. This is not, they're having trouble moving it. So the main reason it's not selling is because it's a little too flashy.
Yeah.
So
it's because it's not carbon fiber.
Yeah, not carbon fiber.
Yeah. That actually removes some of the flashiness.
All right.
A lack of forged carbon fiber.
Heinous thing, on to the next story. Ooh, some sort of Suzuki Jimny.
Yeah, this is an interesting rendering. Mercedes has said this week that they are planning on building a smaller G-Wagon.
Yep.
There's very little other information.
You ready?
There's clearly a market for this. Smart is the right response.
Yeah.
Can't believe they haven't already.
The normal G-Wagon is large and costs $150,000.
Yeah.
You could imagine a 70, 80, even a little bit north of that.
Compete with the
smaller one.
new Defender.
Or the GX is incredibly popular.
Yeah.
Defender is still popular-ish. People want off-roadery SUVs.
Yeah.
Make it a smaller one.
The Bronco Sport.
The G-Wagon has gotten
Bronco
to a
Sport
point
is
where...
unrelated, but yeah.
They're boxy.
It's a
small,
similar
cute.
idea.
Yeah. Just the Bronco Sport for the person that got their first promo. They're VP now. They want people to know.
It's kind of true. I mean, the Bronco
that
Sport
PR firm is really killing it.
It doesn't have the cred that the regular Bronco ever will, but like they sell to a lot of people who are trying to capitalize on the name, just like this will. It does make sense. The only thing that's surprising is they haven't already done it.
Yep.
And I totally see it happening. Also, the regular G-Wagon has gotten so expensive and so supply constrained that it's kind of difficult to buy. And Mercedes must be sitting there banging their heads against the wall like, if we could just make more of these, we could sell more, make more money.
Right.
Here's a way to make more of them. Yep. Probably won't be built in Graz anymore. I can't imagine.
Not. Yeah.
Unless it takes over the production capacity for the Toyota Supra.
So there's no actual information here, just confirmation that it is something they're planning on building.
That's cool.
We'll see more.
I'm into it.
It's probably a couple of years away, but you've got to assume this thing is...
This would sell so well.
It would sell so well. If they could price this like a Defender...
Or even a little bit more than that, who cares?
Yeah, but regardless, this would sell some.
The EQB kind or no, what is it?
It is
the B, whatever the GLSB.
The GLB or
GLB,
the EQB.
yes.
The EQB being the
It's
electric
kind of
version of the
boxy
GLB.
and small.
It is.
Mercedes has tried this before. It should be pointed out. The
With
GLB
what?
is one example. The GLK was the first. You know, Mercedes entered the compact luxury SUV segment with the GLK. It was like 2008. And they decided, they looked at the segment and they thought the segment was primarily made of cars that were sort of smooth lined. And they knew they had this G-Wagon. So they come out with the GLK, which was supposed to be a kind of boxy version of a small SUV. The attempt was to appeal to people interested in G-Wagons. It had no effect. It appealed to the same people as the X3 and all them. But
You know the most fun fact about the GLB?
it's bad.
3 rows.
Oh, God, I know. That ain't, trust me, that ain't a fun fact if you're sitting in the third. When I'm filming car reviews, I get in and out of the car over and over again, filming all the close-up shots of the quirks and features. Some cars are easier to get in and out of than others, and with the variety of cars I work with, comfortable pants are a must-have. Public Rec Pants makes this a comfortable experience for my nether region. I'm thrilled to have Public Rec as a partner, and I'm so excited to try their shorts. Comfortable shorts from Public Rec will elevate my style while being comfortable. And comfort is always my top priority when buying shorts. Public Rec Pants deliver comfort for every occasion with unmatched style, whether you're heading to work, grabbing dinner with friends, going on a date night, running weekend errands, or enduring a long day of travel. Public Rec is comfortable enough for the couch, but sharp enough for the city. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using the code CARS at checkout. Just head to publicrec.com, use the code CARS, and you're all set. Oh, and when they ask how you found them, be sure to mention our show. It really helps us out. Upgrade to Public Rec and feel the difference. All right, give us the next one. Oh, God.
Maserati.
I feel prepared to take this one as well.
As a former Maserati owner.
Maserati, yeah, as a former, and I'm good with keeping that as former. A former Maserati owner, Stellantis and or whoever reports these things, sales were down 57% year over year. They sold more than or less than half of the cars they sold the previous year. And the previous year wasn't good either. So things are not looking good here.
They had
In
new
fact,
products.
Well, they do have a new Gran Turismo and an MC20, but they've got rid of all the SUVs.
The Grecale, it was still for sale in
Grecale is
2024.
bad.
I know, but that was new.
It's bad.
That was new in 24.
Is QP even
They
still
don't
around?
have the excuse that their lineup is aging like Jaguar, where they're like, we just haven't tried anything for 10 years.
Right.
Like, they're trying.
They have some new products, but keep in mind, this is so laughably overpriced. This has to be the most overpriced car, maybe in the entire history of the automotive industry.
It's up there.
It's up there with the UAB and Puma.
That
That is a deep cut. Figure it out.
Yeah.
This car is probably $150,000 more expensive than it should be. And Nick's over here saying that car costs over $150,000.
The Puma.
Well, it's so
That's a
true because
$250,000 car.
I was just in Florida for 2 weeks, and there you see Gran Turismos everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's because they couldn't get into a Ferrari, and they wanted that prestige, but for the cheap. Now that the Roma and the Gran Turismo are like same ballpark, who on earth would buy the
that true?
Stellantis over the Ferrari?
The Gran Turismo is still cheaper, but not so much,
Not much.
cheaper. And also, you
If they're
know,
both over 200, then like,
well, the
forget it.
Romas are about $3. This is cheaper, but you also know what's going to happen when
Yep.
you buy this,
Yeah.
which is that tomorrow it will be worth $1,100 at a trade-in at
Yes.
a dealership in
Yes.
Florida. This is a valueless car. It is a bad, valueless car, which is how Maserati makes their vehicles, except the MC20, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The real story, by the way, is that Ferrari outsold
Yep.
Maserati, which is
Wow.
unbelievable because Maserati's the volume brand that's supposed to it's like the Honda to their Acura. Imagine if Acura outsold Honda.
Right. I
It's
wish
just
Ken were here.
Terrible, terrible, terrible situation for Maserati because they make bad cars. They bastardize their lineup. They bastardize their lineup by radically increasing volume, trying to go after these SUVs, which didn't really sell. Lease payments, lease deals, and
Yep.
this is what you get when that happens.
But I'm still stuck on the fact that they in 2024 released a new small SUV. The small luxury SUV segment is the hottest segment, and they still have how do you?
It's
fail
overpriced
that much.
It's overpriced, and people don't trust that brand. They know
get it.
depreciation is crazy. As a result, lease deals can't be what they need to be.
Yep.
And nobody wants to buy these things. It's laughable. And the car's too expensive to begin with. All the Maseratis are too expensive to begin with. They think they can trade on their brand name, but what they're forgetting is their brand name is destroyed because they destroyed it.
Yeah.
And their CEO said we're not gonna get rid of the brand no matter how bad it gets. We're gonna stick with it. But that is what every CEO says right before they get rid of the brand.
No, the Maserati brand is too valuable to get rid of. too valuable, but they can't.
They got to pivot.
They got to change.
They need to take a leap year like Jaguar and just find themselves.
They have to find themselves.
Not a leap year.
A gap year.
A gap year.
They need to be a ski instructor.
Maybe a leap year too.
They need to go to Eldora and be a ski instructor
By the way,
taking lift
EV.
tickets.
Some ketamine.
This is an EV.
Yeah.
That's true. But it's 700 some horsepower and still nobody's interested. I tell you, I've only seen maybe 3 of these new Gran Turismos. The car's dead in the water.
I saw a couple in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. They looked.
That's like
Probably at
half
100
their
off.
sales.
It was one of those cars you see and you like pat yourself on the back like, wow, I know cars so well I can tell them apart.
And meanwhile, the original came out in 09.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
they're-
It's insane.
It's insane.
You
that
had a
they're-
beautiful red one on the site recently, or maybe it's still
It's
live.
still on and it's beautiful.
And I would take that over the new one.
Totally.
Like just
because it's going to sell for 30. Pull this thing up.
if that, yeah. I mean, no
I've-
offense to the seller, but
It's a
they
low
don't bring
mile
big
car
money.
though. It's a low mile car and
It's so cool.
It's gorgeous.
This is a really cool car. The difference is this one's going to sell for 30. The other one is 250.
Yeah.
They look the same and don't perform that differently
Yeah.
either. Yikes,
Yikes.
of a brand. Yikes of a brand. Okay, next news story.
They did just drop a new merch line, and it's like targeted at Gen Z. Like it is the most. It's like a T-shirt that's $75 and like has some like hipster
The
thing
brand
that like
has
no
no
one would
value.
understand.
The concept that they think
Yeah.
people are going to buy merch, the brand has no value. I'd be
bought merch.
embarrassed to
Yeah.
walk around. He wore it ironically because he bought a Maserati for $17,000.
The irony
That
of
polo I bought for $90 from North Sales in Maserati, it fell apart after 3 washes, which is so indicative of the brand. Like just trash all around. They can't even make a polo.
do you think that Kenan's going to go to Maserati now that Ferrari is doing too much volume? Maserati,
Oh,
you know, smaller
yeah.
volume manufacturer.
We should
Yeah,
say
yeah,
Ken,
something to consider.
Ferrari's the big brand, but Maserati is for the real enthusiasts. Maybe that's what they should lean into. Oh, here's a vehicle floating. You know about this?
No.
Okay. Tell them a little bit about the floating car, then tell them the story.
You tell them about the floating car, I'll tell them about the actual
China
news.
is all EVs, and so they in order for their EVs to sell, they have to have some sort of cool gimmick.
yep.
And so there is a
Floats.
Chinese sport utility vehicle that floats
For 30 minutes.
for 30 minutes, 5 miles an hour.
That's all you need.
For what?
Fundamentally, you drive into a lake, you only need 30 minutes. It's good enough.
After about 20, you're like,
You know
"Well,
that song
well,
by Eminem
I'll
and
drive
Dido where he drives into a lake? Like, 30
wow.
minutes would have been enough.
The
I-
one
would've
where
all
he
been
drives
fine.
off a bridge.
He was upset with his girlfriend or Eminem.
What
Okay.
does Dido have to do with it?
She
The
did the
tea's
song.
gone
the song
cold,
is
I'm wondering
Stan.
why.
Okay. I don't think Eminem was in that song, but anyway.
It's all good. I don't know. It's
great-
This,
I
the
don't know how
news
you're missing
story
each
has
other.
nothing to do with the floating
No,
car.
it doesn't
But
at
the
all.
news story
All right,
is
Chinese brands were 76% of global EV sales in 2024.
that is wild.
76%.
Wait,
Wow.
Chinese brands or cars sold in China?
Chinese brands.
Okay,
were
so that's a global
globally 76%. So keep
Still.
in mind, they sell 0 cars in the U.S.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is the second
don't
largest
need it.
car market, maybe the largest
They
car market in the
don't
world.
need the U.S. This is what I'm talking about. This is why the U.S. should continue to incentivize electric vehicles because China is shown up and China is here with we can't even get EVs out the door that are any good except for Tesla. China's got EVs that float. They're selling 76% of EVs. Eventually, the market will be forced to make a transition to EVs, and guess who's going to be there? Already
Yep.
10 years ahead of everybody else.
Already,
It's terrifying.
in Europe, depending on the country, between like 2 and 10% of EV sales are from Chinese brands, and that's in Europe. And then obviously,
And that's in Europe, which is historically
quite
anxious about buying cars from outside.
nationalists, let's say, in their
Yes.
car preferences. And so
They won't buy Hondas in Europe.
Right. They've really infiltrated a lot of the developing markets. In the Brazil market, Chinese EVs are a huge percentage of the EV
Mexico,
sales.
they're around.
Mexico and other parts of the world. It's notable. 76%.
The only countries
Without
where,
the US.
The only countries where Chinese EVs aren't selling are ones that have tariffed Chinese EVs out of existence.
Yep.
Europe doesn't have that luxury.
No.
I feel
Because
like
they're
if
the
I'm,
cheap ones there.
if I'm a manufacturer in China, I would be thinking about buying the name and branding of Jaguar or Maserati.
You say
even
it.
even at the 25% tariff, Maserati's already 25% tariffing themselves by charging more than that.
Well,
what it's
Remember,
worth.
China did this with Volvo. China did this with
Yeah.
Lotus. China did this with. I mean, this
Yeah.
is
That's a strategy.
This is a legitimate
But I
strategy.
feel like you could buy these brands cheap right now, or Saturn.
I don't
like
disagree.
Find an old one.
It gets them into the West.
Packard.
They'd have to build the cars not in China.
Yeah.
Which honestly is one of their big competitive advantages. They're able to build the cars cheaply. Every time we have a segment like this, people are like, they're using sweatshops. I don't know about that, but they're building them cheaper
Sure,
than they are in
sure.
the States. So they would have to figure out a workaround for
think a lot of people
Can't build them
won't
in
care.
Canada right now either. What's
Right.
that?
A lot of people won't care how they're made, if it's ethical. Some people
Fundamentally,
will,
that's
but-
true. I agree.
I mean, people buy
Love the
Walmart
Ford.
because it's cheaper, not because it's like made.
Yeah, they're
more
not really
humanely.
going upstream to look at how
Yeah.
it's built.
But 76% is a
76%
striking
of
number.
it, I'm telling you, this
Wild.
is where China dominates. And in 10 years, when the U.S. market is forced to accept EVs, as gas prices continue to rise, et cetera, people are going to be like, oh, now I need an EV. And who's got the expertise in building them? Unless we incentivize them in the US, China does. They build one that floats. Mach-E doesn't float.
Probably.
You been in a Mach-E? Doesn't float. I was in a Mach-E taxi in Copenhagen.
Ooh, how pleasant.
Yeah.
All right. This is the Volvo ES90.
ES90.
ES90. It is their new EV sedan.
Yeah.
I want to say two things about it, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
It is currently for sale in Europe. You can order it already in Europe. We don't know when it's coming to the US. It is obviously the replacement for the S90, and it's EV. It is on an 800-volt architecture, so in theory, it can charge like 140 miles in 10 minutes, which is really notable for places where that is feasible, for chargers where that is feasible, rather.
Nowhere.
And it is otherwise...
Not even the dealers.
Yeah. Take the EX90, same like interior, same screen, etc. Sedan, you're done.
May I ask you a question about this car? The reason I want to talk about this news story, I have a lot of warm fuzzies for Volvo. I think a lot of consumers do. Honestly, I think Volvo is the one brand that manages to be a luxury brand without being like a only assholes drive this brand.
Totally.
However, what is Polestar? If Volvo is going to make an electric little, which is the EX30,
You got there.
if they're going to make an electric big, the EX90, and now they're doing a sedan, which looks a lot like the Polestar 2. I'm sure it's bigger.
It is notably bigger than
Yeah, I'm sure it's bigger because it's replacing the
And it doesn't
S90.
really look like a Polestar 2, other than they're both sedans.
If Nick saw one of these, he'd think it was a Polestar 2. So what is Polestar?
Yeah.
Like, why did they do this? The Volvo brand, I don't think they needed a new brand. The Polestar brand is confused. The naming makes no sense. The one was a disaster.
Yep.
Like, why not just go with Volvo?
I similarly don't quite understand.
If they're going to
I
develop...
thought it was supposed to be like an AMG to Mercedes, like the more
Initially,
luxury.
it was.
And like the Polestar engineered S60, V60, or Polestar
Were faster.
Were faster.
But then they've switched it, although there are still Polestar engineered
still
regular
Polestar engineered
Volvos,
regular
which doesn't make any sense. But then
Although
they
not
switched
anymore,
it, and Polestar is now... They sent me a Polestar XC60 like 3 weeks
that's
ago.
true. The V60 is gone, but
Then they switched it, and it became a pure electric brand, but they're also making electric Volvos.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense.
I think that they thought, okay, we aren't confident enough to put the Volvo name behind us. Let's see what name we can put behind a Polestar 2. And they probably regret it. I will. Can I say one other thing about the sedan? You're familiar with the S90 and the S90L.
Yeah.
Here's a fun fact. S90L sold in the US, made in China. One of two vehicles that I can think of.
They pay the tariffs?
I don't, the S90L is maybe not sold anymore, but it was till a couple years ago. There's one other car.
Polestar, the Buick Envision.
Well done.
Polestar has allowed Volvo to do a couple of things.
Yeah.
Create a whole new brand, like with no preconceptions, and sell direct.
That's notable.
So I think that's why they did it.
You're right.
But like the Volvo brand, to the first point, the Volvo brand was pretty strong.
Yeah.
The second thing is probably the real reason they did it, but direct sales don't really help if you're stealing sales from your own products and if nobody's really buying them. And I hate to say it, I liked the Polestar 3, but have you seen one?
Yeah, yesterday.
I've seen one.
Saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
I will say, I think there is truth to just they want to be able to do direct sales. They want to be able to experiment more quickly. That's kind of it. Eventually, I would not be shocked if they roll back in. By the way, Volvo in other markets also owns Lynk & Co., which is another manufacturer that does like weird leasing.
Lynk & Co., notable manufacturer of cars with one spoke of alloy wheels painted a different color than the rest.
So true. Yep.
Okay, I want to take a moment to tell you about another podcast you should absolutely check out, Drive with Jim Farley. Ford CEO Jim Farley talks to some of his favorite people about what they drive and what drives them to succeed. He has great guests on the show, like the British racing driver Vicky Butler Henderson and one of my favorite people, Jay Leno. I've checked out a few episodes of Drive with Jim Farley, and I really love to hear his insights. There was a time when we only got to hear from automotive CEOs and press quotes and carefully worded corporate statements, but Jim Farley's podcast is personal, and it really shows his passion for cars, which is really cool. And this is a podcast I'm certainly going to keep in my listening routine. Click the link in the description box to listen to Drive with Jim Farley today. I want to move on to the Talk Cars segment. We got Nick here. Nick's got a lot to talk about. Nick, start us off with the QP5 sale. Nick sold his QP5 on the site. You can pull it up.
That is the Maserati Quattroporte.
Quattroporte.
Fifth gen. It's sold. It actually has already been picked up. We did like the whole Save Pay thing, which despite knowing you all and talking about cars all the time, I had no idea how it worked. Really easy, but
it's great.
Yeah, it was unusual. So it got listed and got bid up pretty quickly. I think it was at like 15 the first day or so. Then like the final day, like it was just like one bid won it over what it was at. But I'm thrilled that the guy that bought it is in New York. Actually, my AirTag is tracking it, so it's in New York already.
You left an AirTag in somebody else's?
I shared it with him so that he could track it too. I'm that kind of a seller, and I threw in a keychain. But yeah, it's gone.
So the fellow who bought it also bought this really nice E55.
Yeah, and he still has it. I think he's going to get rid of one and replace it with the other. But yeah, he's an enthusiast of that era sedan, which who can blame him.
It was easy. To my knowledge, the car sold. It was like title was gone.
It was
car was
way
gone
too. I mean, I
days.
was like paid within 48 hours.
Which, unlike when you bought the car,
yeah,
on Facebook Marketplace,
you tried and failed to
weeks
pay.
of getting titles signed and affidavitted and whatnot.
Cars and Bids makes it happen easy and fast.
It certainly is better than Facebook Marketplace for ease of transaction, to say the least. But yeah, no, I mean, it was so fun. We just posted a video today with like the kind of best hits of all the adventures.
Break down the cost. I know you got the video out today, but break down the cost. You sold it. What'd you buy it for?
I bought it for 14.
14.
I spent 10 on maintenance and repairs.
10 on maintenance repairs, and you sold it for 17,750.
So, and I rented it once on Turo for 250. So I basically, I'm at 18 and I sold it, or I was into it 24. So I lost $6,000 on it, which was to be expected. I think when I knew I was over 20 and into it, that there was just no way it was
we as a collective friend group, me and the three of us, plus a couple other people who don't appear on screen, or sometimes they do, we're all a little surprised that you went as far as you did on making it as nice as you did. Painting the wheels.
Yeah.
You did pull off clear in front of my house.
Yeah, some of it was self-inflicted wounds. The alternator might have been my fault for pressure washing the engine bay. I mean, like, I could have done things a little better.
Yeah.
Or at least more cost-consciously, not better.
It is one of the highest quadriported hills QP5.
Especially for the mileage. The mileage is what hurt it, but I just said I want spec. I don't care miles.
Yeah, all these higher
90 miles,
that were much higher had really low miles. 10,000, 31, 18.
Yep. Yours said 90.
Yours at 90. But it was a really nice car that presented really well because you painted the wheels. You know, we later found out the wheels were black originally, but it looks so much better in silver. It's like not even describable.
This is just like the 2010 to 2015 was like the era where black wheels were actually cool. No offense if you have them, but it just...
Some cars look good in them, but this car looks so good like this.
Blue and black don't work as well, in my opinion.
It really doesn't work.
So yeah, I mean, it's gone. I'm sad. It is like, I enjoy, like this is a trophy. I get these pictures printed out that Frank does. I think they come out like amazing. And like, it's fun to see all the enthusiasm in the comments. And it's funny, a couple of people were razzing me about the Montana license plate thing, which was like, it's annoying, but it's my fault. I should remove the plates for the photos or just register in California.
There you go. There you go. The other option.
Yeah. It did pass smog. Like I did it the last day of the auction and it passed uneventfully.
I will say, I don't do the Montana thing. I don't necessarily support the Montana thing. The one argument in your favor, the car didn't sell in California. So everybody complains about this. I always tell people are always like, oh, should I renew the plates? Should I pass smog?
Yeah.
I always tell people, just wait till the auction's over. Yeah. Because a lot of times the car doesn't sell in California. You don't have to do that stuff.
I should say, back fees stay with the car. So if you owe back registration, pay that.
Did you know that?
I did. I thought it depended by state by state.
But like if you're a month
California
or two overdue, I always tell people whatever.
Yeah.
But California, back fees stay with the car. So the car comes back into California, you owe back fees.
My Celine, whoever owns that now, you've got a couple years of back fees.
No, you owe it because you...
But the guy I had it just sat in a driveway for
He may have had it P&O though, in which case there's no
he did not. This was disclosed when I bought it from him.
Got it.
And I said, oh, Montana doesn't care. And they don't.
Regardless, you're going to title the next car in California. And let's talk...
Well, I'm trying to title it in the state of California. That is contingent upon it passing smog.
Let's talk about the next car. Have you announced this yet? Do you have a video up yet? It's on your Instagram.
No, we've got a video in draft. It'll go up soon.
Okay.
So sneak peek here for those that care.
Like there you go.
Oh yeah, there you go. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's Nick's Insta, and there's a picture of his.
If you do that, there's a reel of multiples. But
this is Nick and his 3 cars before the QP went, and when he had just bought the
2002 Bentley Arnage T. 645 foot-pound of torque on a 4-speed GM automatic transmission.
It is a good trans.
Glorious. It's called Black Velvet, but in sunlight it looks purple, and then in darker light it looks closer to a black. The interior is called Redwood, but it's somewhere between like a red and a brown. So there's been a lot of debate in my household. My kids say it's the color of poo-poo and keep going on the brown motif. But I say it's a purple Bentley. And it is total hoopty status. I got it one door didn't open, 2 windows don't go down.
This was, to be clear,
check engine light, ABS light, brake light, a general exclamation point of which it doesn't tell you why.
This was
Airbag light.
This was a bring a trailer purchase with hundreds of failure to disclose.
It's outrageous.
Hundreds of non-disclosed issues that it had when it arrived. But you were expecting it because it's an R9.
I was expecting it to be bad. However, like, if you're selling a car and a door doesn't open, the buyer will figure that out pretty quickly, and it behooves you to explain that.
Yeah,
you know,
please explain that.
I was able to fix it myself in like 20 minutes. The amount of things I could fix, like the wheels were insanely dirty, and like you just take like a little drill polisher, they look fine.
They do now.
The dude could have spent an hour and had this car present a lot better, but like. There was plenty of brown M&Ms there to say this car has been neglected.
However, you're getting it back in better shape, except for the fact that you have had 2 fluid leaks, different fluids, in the last 36, 48 hours.
I think it's, in the last 36 hours, then it's down to 2. The coolant, they meant to top up the fluid and left the lid loose.
There's a brown M&M thing for you. Should I go to the shop that leaves the coolant lid loose? Well, maybe, but if there's also a hydraulic fluid leak when it comes home from the shop,
then you don't see it, right? The one fluid covers up the other, and it kind of just swirls. My driveway is such a mess right now. And so I posted on Instagram, like, how do you get rid of hydraulic fluid? The first person's like, oh, Dawn dish soap. The next person goes blowtorch. And they're serious. They're like, just burn it with fire and it'll go away. So
I will say one thing, Nick, and I'm excited to see all of the, this is
this morning. I thought about trying to drive it back to the mechanic, but I was worried it was going to run out of fluid before I got there, and that just wasn't worth it.
I will say, Nick, I was talking to you about this at Cars and Coffee. I have stopped buying cars, which is sad to me to an extent. I love the cars I have dearly. I mean, I think they're the coolest cars in the world. Every time I drive them, I'm so happy. But generally, I've stopped buying cars. However, Nick is buying them for us.
I know, it's so good.
Like, I've always wanted an Arnage.
Who hasn't?
Who has an Arnage T? That's like the dream. And now Nick has done this, and I actually legitimately think that Nick has been able to prolong my own desire to buy cars by just cycling through. I always wanted a P38. I wasn't really always looking for a QP, but it was nice to experience. I drove it to the doctor one day, the day that I got the bandage.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Yeah.
So you were bleeding in my car?
No, the bandage was on before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have disclosed
except for the way there.
Disclose that. No, and I got to drive the Arnage a couple times. Great. I truly think that your crazy decisions have prolonged my own desire to buy cars. It's been wonderful. It's so wonderful to have you in our lives.
It is, and thank you for letting us drive it. For example, driving the QP5 made me realize I don't want to own it. It was great.
I will say, like, in all honesty,
a great car, but
driving the Arnage was wonderful, but it's not that it made me realize I don't want to own it, but it did make me realize, like, I'm happy to drive it 5 or 6. Like, I don't want to purchase it.
I don't want to purchase it.
I want one, and I want to drive it, and I want to experience it, but I don't necessarily, I want a friend with one.
Yeah, and it's the best.
It's the only thing better than having a yacht is a friend with a yacht.
Yep,
Yeah,
and you are a friend with a yacht.
Land yacht in this case.
In this case.
Can we talk Multipla?
Yes. I really want to, speaking of me enabling you or you enabling me.
Me and him have always been talking about buying a Multipla. I bought an A-Class instead.
So badly.
I bought an A-Class instead because the Multipla wasn't legal when I bought my A-Class. And the A-Class experience was so not good that I have no interest in doing this again. Filippo has always wanted a Multipla for a lot of reasons, but because he's the cheapest person alive, he's not going to do it. So the two of us are sitting here.
Should we?
Most of what we talk about is how we want a Multipla, and yet neither of us do it. And then you come to me.
And it's doable. These are not expensive.
You come to me this week and you're like, I want a Multipla.
Yeah.
Tell us.
The amount of time we've spent debating on getting a Multipla, the opportunity cost of that time could have paid for one 10 times over.
So what is the deal? Are you?
I don't even care about the car. I just think we should do it. Like, I just think it would be fun. And honestly, it'd probably be reliable to get me to and from Eli's when it breaks.
Tell us about, is this real? Are you really serious?
I'm dead serious.
All right, I'm going to have you.
The selfish motivation is the YouTube series I do with you all. The idea is I get a car that's kind of beat up. I fix it up, and then I present it nicely and show you that you can find a rough car and sell it for a profit, or at least more than you paid for it. However, I don't want to sell the Bentley right away. I want to hold on to it. I'm enjoying it too much. So this is kind of my summer fling. I can buy it and dump it.
Broken half the time you've had it.
Exactly. I've had it 3 months and I've only driven it like 10 times. So like
enjoying it too much.
I need to expand that ownership. So a Multipla.
If you buy a Multipla, you can't sell the Multipla.
Well,
it needs to be in our life forever.
If you buy the Multipla and title it here,
I
bet you he buys it from you. because the thing stopping him.
Well, it'll be no reserve, and he can bet on it, and you can bet on it. I will have done all the hard work.
Pit us against each
No
other.
one's sold a Multipla on any of the auction sites in the U.S. anyways that I'm aware of.
I've looked.
Like it, and I want to get one that's a ridiculous spec, like purple with the the weird 90s
and I'll tell you this,
fabric.
these now they're becoming available. So I bought that A-Class 2 years ago, and the Multipla was just about to become legal. And the early ones, you didn't have a lot of choice because you were looking for a few months of production.
Yeah.
Now you've got about 2 years of production you could choose from.
Plenty.
Still very hard to find a nice Multipla because they were driven hard.
Because
but
it doesn't exist.
You would find one eventually.
It's an oxymoron.
The craziest interior, pull it up. Are you aware of this?
Yeah. That's why I went purple somewhere in this vehicle.
The absolute craziest interior in a car that wasn't intended to be crazy that I've ever seen.
It
in
was
my
just a
entire
practical
life.
interior.
Anyway, this is an absolutely crazy car. You're serious about
Yes,
this?
I'm
gonna
dead serious.
Right now, after this pod, I'm going to give you Rami's contact info. Shout out to Rami at Inbound Motorsports, the greatest car importer in the history. Pull him up. He sold a ton of cars with us. And Rami brought my A-Class over. Yeah, pull up
That
one of
Renault
these.
is cool.
It was really cool.
There's so many cool cars.
Rami brings over weird stuff specifically. That Legnum wagon,
I love
VR4
those
wagon
Legnum.
was so cool.
You gotta advise. I don't know anything about values or whatever, so I just need you to say like that's a good deal.
Rami is the most honest person in the world, even though he's
So he'll
in
tell
New
me if
Jersey.
like one of the doors doesn't open or windows.
He'll get it fixed for you. Because basically, the way I did it with my A-Class, I was like, Rami, look, I want an A-Class, but I don't want to. I just want it to appear at Hyannis Airport on this day, perfect. And he was like, I'll do it.
I don't need
And
perfect.
It did. Right, no, you don't.
I'm good with the little fluid.
He's got a guy on the ground in Europe who will find it for you.
The hard part is finding it because there's not that many. I've looked. There's not that many low-ish mile, decent condition Multiplas because they were just cars almost only
difference-
sold in Italy.
The difference between the Multipla and the A-Class was sold in Germany where people preserve their cars. The Multiplas are sold in Italy where people do not preserve their cars. It's a little harder to find.
They use their cars for their intended purpose, and then they don't have any money, so
Well,
therefore they keep using it past it.
That's all true.
watchers or listeners are got a line on a good Multipla, you can also slide into my DMs. Follow me on Insta.
I got a line on a good Multipla. Okay, I want to talk
hope you
about
do.
two other things in the Talk Car segment before we move on to the market report. Number one, yesterday, maybe it was the day before, I had a 2-hour lunch with the fellow who owned my Carrera GT from 2010 to 2020.
Wow.
And the way this came about was I bought my Carrera GT in Connecticut. It was in Greenwich. However, the second owner of the car, and actually the guy who owned it for the longest, was in San Diego just by chance. So I sent him a text because I saw it on this number on the service records, and I was like, "Hey, man, I have your Carrera GT. I think so. I think this is your car." And he instantly replied and was like, "Yep, here's a picture of it. Let's get lunch. I want to see it again." And so we did. And he had there it is.
Yeah.
And he had some great stories about his time with it, including that he could never get it into his house and had to leave it at a warehouse that he rented.
Wow.
Never once did he get the car into his driveway because it's so low. I told him I put on an axle lifter, flexing.
Was he jealous?
He said as a result, it was a point A to point A car for him. Like he would drive to his warehouse, take the car around, then drive home. Like he couldn't really use it for anything. And he had fond memories with it, but he bought it for $300 and sold it for over $600. And so he felt like he did pretty well. Even though values have gone up since then, he's not
that's pretty
exactly
good over 10
unhappy
years,
with himself. He currently owns 21 Porsches.
Wow.
Including a bunch of cool stuff. 997 GT3 RS.2, 997 Speedster, 718 Spider RS. His daily's a Cayenne Turbo GT and a beautiful 991 Aero Kit car. Not that I'm a Porsche guy,
Sounds like it.
but it was an interesting thing. I mean,
that's cool.
This guy hasn't owned this car in 6 years, 5-6 years, and he had it for a long part of its life. And it was kind of an interesting thing to meet up with a person such as that.
That's very cool.
Ron,
I have a lot of questions about Ron, but
go ahead.
I don't know what they are.
Did you go for a ride in it at all?
No, maybe I should have taken him for a ride. I got the sense though that he kind of just bought and sold a bunch of stuff, and like he missed the car, but like I got the sense he could buy one if he wanted.
It sounds like it.
And he did. Like he had his experience, and he kept most of his cars. He has a property in the rural Northwest, and he kept most of his cars there. And he said the Carrera GT was just too low and too nice to like bring down the dirt road that his house is on.
I mean, 10 years is a good run with any vehicle, right? Like I
got his
don't
experience.
think any of us held a car that long. Nope.
Yeah. He remembered, it was amazing because he was like 80, but he remembered everything about the car, the serial number. Wow. He was even able to tell me the source of a dent that's on the inside of the driver's door jamb that I've never been able to figure out. And finally,
He was responsible.
I know what it is.
How nice.
The other thing I want to talk, my other Talk Car segment.
Please.
I have a little story for everyone. Filippo is involved. And I don't have the pictures yet, but Filippo and me and others brought all of my cars to one location for a photo shoot the other day.
Quite a day.
Tell us your experience.
I got to drive a Ford GT, not for the first time, and it was pleasant. I treat driving other people's cars, it's for a purpose.
Yep.
Like it's to bring that car to that photo shoot. So I'm not like having fun in the Ford GT, but it's a pleasant car, except for one thing. The blinkers. When the blinkers are on, there's like a little like electrical noise that is so frustrating.
Yeah. If you don't have the radio
and I don't, because I'm not going to, you know.
It is weird, the sound the turn signals make.
I did get to listen to a Carrera GT and a Countach in front of me.
If you were driving in San Diego on Sunday at 4 o'clock, you would have seen a Carrera, the G-Cab, a Carrera GT, a Countach, and a Ford GT all following each other at the 5.
It was quite a scene. And then while we were at the location, an unrelated Ford GT drove by.
Yes.
Like,
it was an unbelievable experience to have them all out and terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Okay, I'll post the pictures next week if I have them. They're really cool. You know how Mercedes Gullwings or Porsche 959s will typically always be valuable and continue to go up in value? It's kind of similar to gold, which is why we've partnered with a company called Acre Gold. Financial experts and big banks agree the value of gold is climbing new heights in 2025 and beyond. So, how do you get in? Buying gold can feel complicated and expensive, but Acre Gold subscriptions make it easy and affordable. With subscriptions from $30 to $250 per month, Acre Gold makes gold ownership a reality for every budget. How does it work? Make automatic monthly payments into your stash until you reach the price of an Acre Gold bar. Once you pay for your bar, Acre Gold discreetly ships it to your door. And look at this, a real gold bar that Acre mailed to us. Markets go up and down, but gold has stood the test of time. It's real, it's solid, and now it's easier than ever to own. Secure your wealth and take control of your future. Start today at getacregold.com. Okay, market report. Let's do it quick because we got to get to questions. I want to talk STI sale. Oh, wait, the market report is brought to you by Nick. Nick,
you're welcome.
He has cars and sells them sometimes.
On Cars and Pits.
Nick drove here today in a
2014 Ford Focus.
The market report is brought to you by the 2014 Ford Focus, which is on its third transmission.
Yeah, I think Ford has spent more on warranty claims than I paid for the car in front. I could see why they got out of cars after that. Like, we're just going to stick to trucks.
They certainly stopped making that transmission.
Worth our time.
All right, pull up the STI.
Yeah.
But it is a peach.
The Focus is a peach on its third trans. And he got here, the first thing he said to me was, I think the trans is slipping again.
It definitely is slipping.
We had a black STI go up 05 Hawkeye self, bid to 53. We put it together afterwards for around that. I don't remember.
A little bit over that, 55.
55, something like that. 16,800 miles, no mods. Very special car.
Such a special car.
I just want to point out for all those people out there who think that these are for vaping boy racers, this is the market is starting to decide these are special cars. Now, I have never been of the opinion that these are going to take off. People are like, the Japanese cars will have their day, and they will. 55 grand. I don't think this is ever going to be $1 million, but this proves that like there is real serious interest in. This was our highest sale of anything even resembling a Hawkeye WRX.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other ones were all S209s, which have always been big money. That was very cool to see. And as a big fan of that car, I was 16 when those came out. It was the coolest thing on the road. I'm thrilled that they're like that. Enthusiasts with money and taste and who want to preserve them are like getting in that world. It's
Can I ask you a question? Do we think S209s stay there?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you say
there's 209 of them. They were very
85
special.
grand forever. Or 70 grand.
They're 6 years old already, and they're still trading for those numbers. The S209s stay there. Absolutely. They're very special cars.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it looks like they've gone down a little bit, but they're not going to go down to 20. S209s are very, very special cars. There's only 209. They're all individually numbered. Also, STI ended after that.
Yep.
But cool to see this
Very
car
cool
do
car
a
to
good
have.
number.
That looks like a nice one.
It was.
I mean, unmodded. If this had been blue, I bet it would have gotten another $5 grand. It was probably an innocuous decision in 05 to be like, oh, blue or black. Oh, they have a black one. I'll get that.
Yeah.
Of course, the blue became the hero color and definitely would have been better for one you've wanted to preserve. But I love this car. I just can't say enough good things about how special I think these are. And I'm glad they're getting the recognition they deserve.
Yep.
Aston Martin us.
Aston Martin. I've noticed over the last couple of weeks that Aston Martin values are back up.
Yep.
This Rapide, this V9, we have this manual Aston Martin V12 Vantage that'll end by the time this podcast goes live. But Rapide values have been 53 grand. This is admittedly a special color. This sold yesterday with 32,000 miles. Rapides have been sub 50 for forever.
I wanted to buy one for a while, and then I'm like, I don't think I want to spend that much money on it.
Right, but their backup
they're
especially, it makes no, like, here's one with the same miles 2 years ago. Where the market was stronger.
The market was stronger.
That got less. Like,
the color helped this one, although if you go back, the color helped a few of these.
So this is also the facelift one with the bigger grille versus the two smaller grills. Those do tend to bring a little bit more money, the later ones.
Yeah, the S.
Yeah.
Go back to the Aston page that you had, the landing page. The other one that was, the DBS brought a lot of money considering the miles. And frankly, I don't know the market, I have to admit, but go back to the top. I'm kind of surprised already that this V12 Vantage is at 80 because click on it. This car has 90,000 miles, 73,000 miles. This car's like been used as a car, which is totally fine, but oftentimes that really harms the value. I didn't expect it's a 6-speed, it's a V12, but the market is actually appreciating Astons a little bit.
It's interesting. I'm glad they are, because especially seemingly V12 Astons, which makes some sense. There's not that many V12 new cars. It makes sense that there's appreciation. And the manuals, which are incredibly rare, because who bought a manual Aston, seem to be doing incredibly well.
I think the secret is a little out that they're not that unreliable.
Yeah.
I think people have started to realize, like, this car's got 73,000 miles. Right. We get them submitted all the time to us with 60, 70, 80,000 miles. Not V12 Vantages and sticks, but Astons in general. Like, they have a rep for being unreliable. They're not really. You can actually buy this car and have a pretty exotic experience for like 40 grand in the case of a V8 Vantage. Their enthusiasts have kind of circled around them.
Yeah.
When I bought my V8 Vantage, they were like plunging.
And to be fair, V8 Vantages
are still lower than they were during the peak COVID.
No, that's not going to work for you.
V8 Volante.
Heck yeah.
Remember those?
I do.
Wild cars.
V8 Vantages are still all over the place.
Yeah, they're a little all over the place. The early tips are cheap, but a nice later stick is more expensive than it was when I bought one like 10 years ago.
I also wonder if they're benefiting from the fall of Maserati through Stellantis. The people that would have bought a Gran Turismo, maybe the Roma's a little out of reach. You say, I have 100 to 200 to spend on a nice cruiser. Aston is a really compelling choice if you can't get into a Ferrari or Lambo.
When are you going to get a Rapide?
There was one on Facebook Marketplace that had like all this dust on it, but he was asking like running and driving condition, and it was like one of those like, oh, it's a leak, but it'd only take $500 to fix. Like if it was $500, you would have done that. So that stayed away from that. But when the opportunity presents itself, it's on my list.
Are any other Astons on your list? What about a DB7?
Love a DB7.
They're cool for the right price, maybe. I did say I was at Curated in Miami.
It's 20 grand.
And they had a Vanquish that had been manual swapped by the factory.
Oh, no, 3.
Yeah.
Pull up one of those. We sold a few of those.
And with the manual swap, it is so cool. And I've heard the manual swaps are just, it's like 50 grand or something like that.
It's expensive.
It's about the price of the car to do it. So that's tough. But I think you probably do get most of that value out of it. Like you spend 50 on the car, 50 on the swap, probably sell it for 100-ish.
I don't even think you need to spend 50 on the car.
They're cool. They look so good.
They are still think one of the. I have die-cast models of this car. I love.
Still think it's the best looking Aston in my lifetime.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I said it.
I agree.
Either that or the DBX 707 or the Cygnet.
I think all the Zagato ones are kind of like.
Dude, the Zagato Zagato hatchback. I sometimes think, should I go after one of those?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Like they were new 900, but they transacted at 600, and now they sell for 450. And it's like, but the problem is, I don't want to
Still
lose.
450.
It's going to be a 220 car in about 8 weeks. So
Right.
No, they actually sell
220.
I think go pull one of those up. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
What the Zagato hatch? It was a V12. I mean, the Aston V12 Zagato hatchback.
Do you know in period? I mean, I guess Zagato's still around, but like, were they like Mansory, where everyone like didn't get it, or have they always been cool?
It depended on the car. Zagato had some ugly
They had
cars.
some terrible stuff.
Yes,
like an elongations.
This is not though.
Yeah,
this was beautiful.
That was like $1 million car.
But
though, right?
it was. But Zagato went through this whole period. There were some heinous. Just type in Zagato into.
Well, it had to be like one dude, right? So like, I don't know. I went through like my goth phase and then like my preppy phase. Like,
and there
you
are
kind of
some
go through stuff.
There are some famously bad ones.
Yep.
Like remember the Alpha SZ and the RZ. Those are probably the most famously bad ones.
Yeah, the Gallardo one was not good.
The RZ, by the way, is beautiful. So careful.
You think it's beautiful, but generally agreed to be
beautiful
one of
is the wrong term.
Beautiful.
It's neat.
Striking.
Yeah, I reviewed one. It drove great. Weird.
I remember you called me while filming this, and like I don't know how to put the top on.
I called
manuals in
Filippo, and I
Italian.
was like, the manuals in Italian. I need to know how to put the roof on, and you figured it out.
That's
for me.
excellent.
Okay, we got to move on to questions. Two things. First off, before questions, I want to thank the viewer who sent us in this. We got some Carrera GT literature
Ooh.
from a viewer. I'm always interested in Carrera GT, Ford GT, and Countach things. Because I have in my house a giant repository of this stuff. I have every piece of Carrera GT literature in existence. And this is a brochure from back in the day from a viewer named Norman. He sent this in, and it's the concept car, and it kind of goes through some of the stuff. And I appreciate that. Thank you. You can send us Carrera GT literature, too. You send it directly to Filippo's house.
Yep.
Okay.
By the way, in that Car and Driver, also review a road test of the Maserati QP5.
Ooh, I'll have to read that.
And there is on the back cover, their 04 Z71.
What a car.
So good.
And they're trying to advertise its capabilities.
Some of the ads in that are phenomenal. I leafed through yesterday, and it's
Chrysler
great.
Crossfire. Oh, here's a Ford Freestar minivan comparison.
Yep, the Odyssey one.
Nick, your dream.
Oh, tire rack. Yes.
Wheels. And look at the
Rims.
cars. Look at the
Those
cars
aren't
they've
wheels.
chosen to GMC Envoy, Mazda 3, Mustang Mach-1, and a C230 on what appear to be stock wheels.
C230.
Well, it's for every enthusiast.
How amazing.
Okay, questions. Now, remember, you can ask us questions. You go to carsandbids.com, you click on the community tab, and then there's a post there that says, here are the questions, and you ask us questions. Now, this week, I used to answer the top upvoted questions, but then I found that the same people were asking the questions like immediately when we go live. And so I've decided to kind of skip around more. And this week, I'm going to skip around more on the questions too. By the way, I'm always going to answer the most controversial ones, to be clear.
Yeah.
I love those.
He enjoys that greatly.
I like scaring Filippo. But there were some other good questions buried further down. However, the first question was very good. From Alec Metz, 2011. I know you don't love discussing politics, but how do you think Elon Musk will affect Tesla as a company moving forward? How will it affect values of Tesla's new and used? Their stock has fallen almost 30% since the salute. I don't want to talk about stock. I'm not going to be one of those Twitter losers. Curious, your guys. I mean, come on.
Well, first of all, this stock thing, yes, it's down 24% year to date.
Nick sounds like a Tesla stockholder.
If you look at the last 6 months, it's actually up like 20%. So all you're doing is saying, yes, from the peak of the peak, it's down a little bit. Over the long run, it's still an amazing hold. And again, I don't care about the stock, other than to say like it's down a little bit right now, but they are doing fine.
I own a bunch of it.
With regards to the stock, the people are free to speculate. The cars is an interesting question.
It is.
I have to tell you. Elon, when he was perceived as a champion of the world, saving the world, making electric cars, was sort of a hero of electric car buyers.
Yep.
He became more conservative, and people kind of held their noses and just were whatever. Things have changed, and he has now gone pretty far in a direction that I suspect a lot of electric car shoppers are not. I am asked quite often for car advice by friends, family, neighbors, randoms. I am frequently being asked now about EVs that are not Teslas. Specifically, what EV can I buy that isn't a Tesla that is still good? I'm getting the question daily.
And Tesla sales are notably down in the US.
Way down.
They're also way down in Europe by stunning margins.
We saw yesterday they announced 0% on all Model 3s.
Correct.
0%,
which was just refresh. It's their newest model.
brand new refresh. And 0% is a pretty tough offer in a financing world where the Fed funds rate is like 6.
Correct. I saw a news report today that there's a real risk. So Tesla makes a bunch of money by selling emissions waivers, basically, right? Like they don't produce that many emissions. They sell credits to other manufacturers. They may not sell enough cars this year to do that. And so they have obligations around that to say, like telling Stellantis, for example, we'll sell you this many credits. There's a little bit of a risk that they don't because sales are that far down.
It's a bad situation. I do think that Elon Musk's behavior is playing a role. I also have a feeling that Elon doesn't care that much. He's obviously incredibly wealthy. He's moved on first to Twitter and now to the government. When I think about him, when I hear from him, it seems like he's sort of forgotten about Tesla in a way. And he's this sort of your perennial serial entrepreneur who's like trying to do this thing and that thing and that thing. And the most recent thing is working for the Trump administration. And I'm not sure that he really is working on this hard.
The biggest question becomes, from a corporate governance standpoint, what happens? So do Tesla shareholders and their board, which is very friendly towards Musk, change their opinion a little bit over time?
What's interesting, so in a past life did advertising for Solar City, which then became Tesla. And we were their agency. We were spending a lot of money.
Did you know this?
Our biggest client at the time. And like I was like really in the trenches there, like speaking with like their CFO and all these people. When they folded it back into Tesla, we were let go. And they paused all their paid search ads, all their Facebook ads, literally all their advertising. And we had like a metrics to say this is profitable for every dollar you put into the
Every
search
digital
engine.
market
Every
has
digital
a
market,
You're getting $5 back or whatever the number
It's
is.
always profitable, yeah.
And we were told Elon does not believe in advertising. He feels the PR he can generate with a single tweet is far greater than the millions of dollars you could spend. And that was true.
For years it was.
But there is a downside to that strategy, which is if you fall out of public opinion, that does no longer work.
There's a real key.
Both of these are two really good points. What is the board looking at this in a do we have to start taking an action here perspective?
Yeah.
And is the guy at the helm, like, who has been so beneficial for this company for so many years, is he now a liability for the company?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
Real
this,
question.
of course, is accompanied with maybe a slowdown in the market in general, so people aren't buying as many cars, and a slowdown in the EV market in general, and interest rates going up. It's not a good situation. It is already a difficult environment in which to be selling cars. And they're going to start rolling back some of these EV incentives, which frankly benefit Tesla.
Yep.
We'll see what happens, but I have a feeling the juggernaut that Tesla was, you can't imagine it continues like this given the situation, unless something changed, something drastically.
0% financing is truly crazy because the Model 3 is their only updated model, and the Model S has been identical since the last facelift in 2017.
Yeah,
the Model X since it came out in 2017. The Model Y is about to be facelifted. Like that's their newest product. That's their bread and butter product. If they're struggling to move that,
yep.
It is hard. I mean, I get that question too of what should I get EV wise if I don't want a Tesla.
What do you tell them?
And it's still
buy a Cayenne GTS?
Well, it's hard because on paper the Tesla's still the most compelling and the best deal. So it's like, well, you should really at least go drive a Tesla to have a baseline for comparison. And then if you don't like it, then go on leasehacker.com and buy the cheapest thing you can.
I generally agree with you, except that now that other automakers can tap into the charging network, which I think was a bizarre strategic decision by Tesla, that eliminated, to me, what was their primary advantage. They already don't have the best self-driving anymore. Now they don't have the charging network advantage. Plus, you have to deal with crazy Elon. The other advantages are not significant. They have better range, but most people don't use the full 300 miles. I honestly don't feel that way. I recommend other EVs to people fairly frequently, and there are so many other options.
My real response is, I drive a V12 Lamborghini, a V8 Bentley, a V8 Maserati. I am the wrong person to ask about EVs.
We burn fuel up in air.
I kill dinosaurs.
We're going to get so many Tesla comments.
Yeah, but
good.
Is anything we're saying not true?
No, 100%.
I'm only interested. I used to fight with the Tesla people on Twitter, but it became clear to me that they're all stockholders. And it's not interesting to me when someone has a stake. It becomes interesting to me if someone is objective, and people online refuse to disclose their position. So that's kind of that.
Oh my God. Goodness.
I reviewed the Model. Oh yeah, me and you reviewed the Model X together.
That's right.
It was great. Okay, next question. From ind_can. Doug, how did you meet Hoovie? After finally meeting him, what's the quirkiest thing you noticed about him? How did I meet him? Hoovie and I worked together briefly on Jalopnik. And at some point, I left Jalopnik to go start a blog for AutoTrader called Oversteer, autotrader.com. And I hired Hoovie to come and work for me, even though I had never met him before. And he wrote a column like once a week for us, which was great. And at some point, AutoTrader paid for him to come to Atlanta, and we filmed some videos together. And I believe that was the first time I met him. And now I meet him every
Great videos.
Great videos. And now it's just me and Hoovie talking, zero production, and honestly, they're pretty good.
Not only zero production, it was straight up bad production.
Bad production.
There was like a curtain.
Yeah, it was like us in a production. But there was a lot of information. Like stuff was said in those videos. To be clear, there are still like 6 unreleased, by the way. They never will be released. They're long gone. But anyway. And then now every year we see Hoovie at tax time.
Related follow-up question, since you like to steer into the controversy. What is up with Jalopnik and the weird stuff they post about you? They have the 20 automotive YouTubers you don't know about, and there's a picture of you when you were like 7 years old as the hero image. It is bizarre.
To be honest, I haven't read Jalopnik.
They got beef for some reason. Even though you were a prominent part of their history.
I have absolutely no idea what goes on there, and unfortunately, and I haven't read Jalopnik in years. I would like to go back there and read them again. They're not. It's not what it was.
I hear Gawker Media is thriving, so you missed out.
It's been a long road since the days of Gawker, which I remember very fondly. The other question here was, what is the quirkiest thing about Hoovie? The quirkiest thing about Hoovie is that he is not a particularly boisterous person in real life.
So true.
He is surprisingly reserved to the point where in some of those videos, people like Doug is talking so much more than Hoovie. Well, Hoovie actually is a fairly quiet dude, despite what it appears when he's on camera, because he's almost always on camera just by himself in his videos.
Yeah.
And when he's, especially when he's off camera, like when we're having lunch with him, we'll often, 8 of us or 10 of us will have lunch, and he won't say much at all during the whole lunch. It's kind of interesting.
But then he turns it on for the cameras.
He does.
He maybe not those auto trader ones, those were early, but.
Whereas I am this insane always.
That is so true.
You're insaner.
Doug toned it down for the camera.
No, you.
Doug, when I go out to eat with you, like the first few times I had to be like this, like I'm sorry for my wild friend here.
Nick, you are Nick. Some of the stuff you say, which I cannot repeat on camera. See, this is where you benefit. We can't say the stuff that you say about people we can't talk about.
You know what? I think that's why I liked Florida so much, is I felt more liberated to be myself. Like there was nothing I could say that would offend someone. They're like, oh, I heard something crazy earlier today.
Nick makes jokes that in 1974 would have been thought of as unacceptable to make. Let's just say that. Okay. Next question. You can edit this if you want, but you shouldn't.
They were jokes about OPEC and the oil embargoes, for the record.
Leaded gas, the transition to unleaded fuel. Okay. Let's see. Okay, next question from, this is going to be great. This one's for you.
Great.
From SF00005, what are y'all's thoughts on Scotty Kilmer claiming that Cars and Bids is failing? Oh,
Is Scotty?
I don't know. I'll be honest.
Scotty, I'm sure.
So Scotty pops up all the time now that I'm Googling what leaks are what. His like video of like how to determine what the fluid is like it might as well be my homepage. I don't watch it.
I don't watch any Scotty because obviously he's insane. And you know what? When I say Scotty's insane, he makes a video like, "Doug called me insane, and I'm not insane." And I'm sorry. I actually think Scotty's hilarious. He's insane in a hilarious way, like you.
Yeah. And then my father-in-law loves him. Huge fan. And he's always giving me like, "Hey Nick, I got a hot tip for you. You know, you don't actually have to change your oil if you just drain out a quart and then put another quart in every couple of months."
Can I ask?
I'm like, I don't think that's true.
What's happening here?
He makes it. He's like, "I'm quitting YouTube." He makes it. "I'm quitting YouTube" like every 6 months or so. I love Scotty in a way because I respect the hell out of what he does, which is he posts multiple videos a day. Like, I think it's a grind. We post 3-4 videos a week. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
He posts like multiple a day. I'm telling you, like he is legit out there. And the result of that, when you're trying to post multiple a day, is you run out of topics. Right? And so he does some, Tesla just announced we can no longer stay in business.
We didn't need to have that conversation about Tesla at all.
Yeah, Scotty's already got us covered. Here's a scam about Toyota. Like he realized like he can lean into clickbait.
He has said bye to YouTube like
100 times just in this.
For all Americans.
So the problem is that because of that, he's kind of always saying whatever he has to kind of get clicks. And as a result, I hate to say it because I think he's great, but he appeals to kind of the lowest common denominator. If you're a Scotty fan, you should consider that. Like, you should be wondering, am I doing life right? But anyway, he says Cars Bids is failing. He said everything that I've ever done is failing, and every other YouTuber, and every car company. According to him, Toyota, Honda, and Tesla are failing just in the last 2
Ford.
weeks. And Ford is failing also. So I think he's wrong. We got some private equity cash. All right. Okay, next question. Oh, here's a question from Jack AC. Do you think Volkswagen would have actually sold Phaetons if they were sold as Audis? Yeah, no, they did. It was called the A8.
And they didn't sell that many of those either.
And they didn't. Next question from Mo Dolly. Doug, you allegedly have a habit of going speeds I don't want to say during your reviews. Have you ever gotten pulled over by the police during your reviews? No. I never have. I get this question a lot. Have I ever damaged a car, been pulled over by the police? Never either.
When we were doing that photo shoot you showed earlier of my Mercy, Bentley, and Maserati, all on Montana plates. We're at a stoplight and a motorcycle cop comes up right next to us. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we are the most conspicuous group of Montana plates this officer has ever seen in his life and will ever see in his life. And you know what he said? He goes, which one of you is Nick? And then he goes, he's a fan of your channel and a fan of you. And thankfully, by association, I got the goodwill that you've endeared.
I've never even had to test that. I'd be curious to. I have gotten pulled over driving my regular cars in regular settings and gotten tickets since I've been doing YouTube. Usually on that cross-country drive I do every summer, but although it's been years even since I've been pulled over there. But no, never during a review. I've never had any sort of. Occasionally, police occasionally will come up to me when I'm filming, like in a church parking lot. But usually they just want to say, "Hey, see the car, make sure nothing's wrong." You know, they never tell me to move or are jerks. They're always nice, and I'm always respectful of them. Okay, final question from Julian Evans.
Ooh.
Having just seen the Value Progress Beast, what is the ugliest supercar in your view?
Did you see the Value Progress Beast?
That was the Diablo
That we talked about
Yeah,
last
yeah,
week.
horrible.
Okay, ugliest supercar without any question, doubt, or discussion. Oh, wow, he goes back to Scotty. Lamborghini Veneno. How could it not?
No.
No.
There's a Scion for sale right now, by the way. Speaking of ugly Lambos.
Oh, a Scion.
Scion.
Okay, I was
The
wondering.
Lamborghini Veneno. Wait, pull out.
No,
This
I
is-
think that's cool.
What, Nick?
You're crazy.
Nick, are you joking? It's like
I don't think-
I would
it's like
totally-
an Aventador with the ugliest body kit that anybody has ever seen in their entire life.
I mean, that's what it is, but I think it's cool.
Click on the.
I would
mean,
definitely rock that.
Nick, are you?
I could think of far
It's
worse.
just an Aventador with bolt-ons. And that are ugly and that extend the length of the vehicle by 20 years. This is the ugliest car I've ever seen in my life.
No.
Ever.
No.
Oh, fine. Give me it then.
I'm going to need a second.
Ugliest supercar in your view.
I'm not part of this
Fine.
world.
Give us
I
an
don't-
ugly car.
I got
Give
nothing.
us an ugly car while he thinks.
I got nothing.
This is the ugliest car. You agree with me, right?
It is certainly striking more than it is beautiful.
Keep scrolling down. I remember when they first released it, some of the like original wheel designs and stuff were so.
Sorry, did the
bad.
wheels design get better?
I think a lot of these are wraps or faux or renderings. God, that is the ugliest car. Click on that.
Yeah, that's.
You're telling me that
Okay,
is an
that's-
attractive
That's
car?
not a good angle.
That is. There's no good angle.
That's a bad angle.
Nick, you got to tell me what is the ugliest super?
That is a great question. I'm sure it'll Aspark Owl, maybe?
No, it's not. It's not bad looking.
No,
I know, we just haven't said Aspark Owl in a while.
We haven't.
we
felt
haven't.
like it was needed.
We got off that. What
how
happened?
do you think they're doing?
Okay, I'm gonna.
mean,
Think they sold a
sorry.
second unit yet?
To be fair, it's
didn't
not a
think this-
beautiful automobile.
Okay, wait. I have one for you that I think might be it because I just
Yeah.
googled ugly supercar and one came up that I was reminded of. Look up the Mitsuoka Orochi.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know this car?
No. Ooh,
Yep.
not good.
You earlier, I'm surprised you didn't go for the Puma because you mentioned the
Oh,
Puma
yeah, that
earlier.
was ugly.
Okay, here's another one. Look up McLaren Senna.
What is the Puma supercar called?
Uabian Puma. You're not going to look up the Senna and humor me?
No.
I was going to suggest it's not technically a super car, it's a super truck, but the Spiker Pecking to Paris.
Oh,
SUV.
yeah, Spiker peaking to Paris.
That is one of the ugliest vehicles ever.
That is pretty bad. Spiker peeking
goodness.
to Paris or pecking. It's going to peck all.
Right.
It's going to peck all the
Peck,
way
peck,
to Paris.
I think this looks
Look
great.
at that thing,
No,
man.
no, no.
So bad.
I'm so into this.
So
This
bad it's
came
good.
from the era when the sports car companies were just
They had
trying to
no
make
idea.
bigger versions
Yeah.
of their
I
sports
love
cars.
this so much.
They went
This
in a
is so good.
Photoshop and they just
Yeah.
elongated like Mansory.
Like
Yeah,
Mansory.
I love
I
this
love
so
it
much.
too, to be clear. If whoever has this, I buy this instead of the
Yes.
V8 Cygnet.
Yep.
75 grand.
Oh, I want to leave you guys today with a part. Oh, wait. Bertone Mantide. Bertone Mantide. That's the answer.
Bertone Man, what?
Bertone Mantide.
One that will piss you and Kenan
Bertone
off.
Mantide.
But
Oh.
I stand on this, and I will regret this one day when Kenan get one. The 612 Skag Hain.
It's known to be Hain, though.
Hain.
That's kind of a drawback of it. I want to leave you guys with a parting thought today.
Please do.
Which is that if Filippo were to get money, he would buy a Volkswagen XL1 and a Polestar 1. He'd have, you know how we'd get like a McLaren F1 and a F50.
That's such a good point.
He would have
I don't
an
want the Polestar
XL1
one. I do want the XL1.
and a Polestar 1.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want the Polestar one, but I want the XL1.
Yeah, but you'd have a daily and you'd be like, you know, Doug, a Polestar 1's only $36,000.
They're annoyingly expensive.
No, dude, they're not. Someone sent. They're not. My point is, this is the person who Filippo is.
Thank you for that parting thought.
Nick, do
Appreciate
you have
it.
any final thoughts for us to end the pod?
No, I don't.
You think the
Thank you for
Veneno-
listening.
You think the
You're good people.
Veneno looks good?
I don't think it looks bad. I would say on like a scale of 1 to 10.
It's just an
in the
Aventador
middle.
with the ugliest body kit ever designed.
I
It
mean,
looks
you
like
could
the
say that about
Value
a lot.
Progress.
Okay, the CLK GTR is just a body kit on a CLK.
We got to end this now.
No,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
isn't.
It isn't
It's
at
a
all.
wide body, you know. It's same.
It's
the
a long
Reventon
body.
Reventon.
The
ooh, just a
Reventon is
body
not.
kit.
It is. It's not particularly attractive.
No, it's gorgeous.
This is much more beautiful than the.
My dentist had the same car.
All right. Nick, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here in the office.
Has it?
Thanks for coming all the way down here in your Ford Focus because all your other cars are broken.
It's technically runs, just leaky.
Even the Ford Focus is broken.
Yes.
Yep.
No, I mean the Bentley.
Yeah, I understood. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our greatest episode yet.
Goodbye.